This is The Trend, where you'll get an enlightened perspective on trending news and topics with amazing commentary. I am your host, RTL Faith. Welcome back to the podcast, and you know our motto here. We're here to breed discussion, debates, solution, but most of all, compassion. So, I have some very good conversations. I have a friend here today in today's episode of the podcast, and I'm gonna have like the professional people that I never met before and learn about them and get their opinions. But I'm also gonna have some friends on here and get their opinions about stuff as well. Today I have my guy here, Quancredible. So go ahead, introduce yourself, tell them a little bit about
Yes,
you
sir.
and all that other stuff.
So yeah, as RT already said, I am Quancredible. He described us as friends, but I feel like he's being a little modest here. We're more like lifelong best friends ever. I remember going to his graduation. We had a great time. But I do have a YouTube channel, Quancredible, Twitter, Quancredible. It's all the exact same. Where I talk about anime and manga, more specifically Seven Deadly Sins, Four Nights of Apocalypse, and that kind of stuff. So if you're interested, you can check those out.
Yes, sir. And that links will be in the descriptions. If you're listening to the podcast, there should be a description there somewhere where you can grab all those links. So we're going to go over a lot of different interesting stuff. Like I said before, what I'm starting to do after the plug section is I want to read off a comment or a review from one of y'all that, kind of gave some feedback or your own opinion to kind of appreciate the support and all this content that I'm pushing out. So I got a comment in regards to the Serena Williams clip. I know this is my third time talking about it, but there's a lot of opinions regarding it for some reason. And this guy actually said, because women don't. Okay, so this is kind of give context. Let me give context for everybody. So I said on a clip that Serena Williams, if she's gonna complain about men, tennis players, it being sexist, that they do not have to retire because they don't have to be kind of like a family individual. I say it's kind of weird that you say that, but you married a very busy man. It doesn't really make sense in my opinion. That's the very very dumbed down version. And this guy commented regarding that situation. Because women don't want a man to take care of, they want an equal or someone more successful that puts them in this position. And I think the majority of the women actually do think like that, which is not a wrong thing. It's a more traditional type of mindset where the woman wants a man equal to them or better than them, and for the most part, men don't really care. So, you got any thoughts about that, real briefly, in terms of the comment, at least?
This is already one that kind of has to tote the line. I think, like, traditionally speaking, a lot of women do think that way, where they want like a more traditional style relationship. But I do think that the culture right now is starting to see like a bit of a shift. But I think a lot of the people who are in this shift where they want to be the primary breadwinners or the primary person are starting to realize that maybe some things aren't exactly how they thought it would be. So we see a lot of people kind of trying to figure out where they stand necessarily in this shift.
Yeah, I mean, statistically speaking, there's not many marriages where the woman is the breadwinner, but it can happen. And if you want to be
Right.
like a successful woman who is very, very busy, marry a man, marry a woman that is the stay-at-home man or woman. Something not that hard. Just make sure their personality is great. They can be a great parent at home. You feel me? Great parent.
Right.
All right, so we're gonna move on to the trending topics. We're gonna dive into some of this very interesting news that has been recently released. One of the first news that has been announced, if you didn't hear Quan, is One Punch Man season 3 anime has been officially confirmed to come out. I don't know if it's next year. I think it's 2024 from what I've seen. But exciting news. I don't know how far they're gonna go into it. Um, but I'm excited. Big One Punch Man fan. What do you think about the
I did
news?
see that earlier today on TikTok, or not on TikTok, on Twitter. I'm pretty excited for it. I didn't watch season 2. I kind of just like read the manga here and there. So like I think it would be cool to see some of season 3 anime, especially because after season 2, for some reason I thought they weren't going to animate season 3, but I guess it's been like still doing amazing enough to get an anime.
Yeah, One Punch Man is definitely one of the more popular series that have come out. Period. And it's ending, as we know. It's coming to a close. It seems for the manga at the very least. So it makes sense that the anime is going to come back. But the question is, season one was 12 episodes. Season two is like 12 episodes. So it's like, are they going to continue the trend? Because that the next arc
Probably.
is long. Like it's actually a very long arc. So
I feel like they probably will continue the trend and go with 12. I mean, I guess they could do like if they do like a short two-parter, like do like try to make it 20 episodes and do like 10 and 10, but I don't know. They may or may not do it. I feel like they're still going to do 12 though.
I don't think there's a single good stopping point in this arc to do 12 episodes.
Mm,
Honestly, like wherever they stop, there's going to be a huge cliffhanger. Whether it's Garo going to his first transformation, whether it's fighting the King of Monsters, whether it's that one woman versus Tatsumiki. There's so much things that's going to be a huge cliffhanger. So I don't know what they're going to do about that, but we'll see. Some other trending news is that there's a group of scientists that is currently working on the genetic resurrection of both the woolly mammoth and the Tasmanian tiger. Have you heard about
I
that?
think these are horrible ideas. I think these are horrible ideas. So horrible ideas. I
What?
don't think we should.
If they're
We should.
tame, they won't. I mean, a woolly mammoth is only as big as like an elephant. It's not that crazy.
Yeah, but they might be mean. We don't know if they're mean. Well, I don't know if they're mean or not. You can like mess up the whole ecosystem
Well,
genetically, bringing stuff back.
well, they said the reason why they're doing it in the first place is it's supposed to help the ecosystem. A woolly
Yeah.
mammoth, Tasmanian tiger species. I don't really know. I mean, even if they're mean, it doesn't really matter because guns beat animal every day of the week. So it's like it is what it is. But
I mean, they do, but I don't know. You know how many bullets it probably take to put down a mammoth?
if they could beat mammoths with spears, we shouldn't have that much trouble to take out a
Bro,
mammoth.
you're gonna pop out with your little 9.5 or 5.7 and unload a full clip of 15, and the mammoth's gonna be fine.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. One thing I will say about this is I think what they plan to do is to keep it in an enclosed environment because I don't think it's smart to put them out in nature at all actually. Because the nature and earth has adapted to a different type of ecosystem at this point.
Right,
But
right.
what do you think about like a zoo of these past extinct animals now living and growing but in like an enclosed environment that people can observe.
You know,
Some people may say unethical, but I think it would be pretty cool, regard
I
personally.
can't help but remember the film. It's kind of popular. You may have heard of it, called Jurassic Park
I knew
or
you were gonna
Jurassic
say
World.
that. Yeah.
It just it just seems really familiar when we bring back a bunch of potentially really dangerous animals and a bunch of people die. It just seems, I don't know, it just seems potentially unsafe.
There may be a line. Tasmanian tigers are not that big, so I'm not worried about them. And then woolly mammoths are just as big as elephants, so it's just a hairy elephant at the end of the day. So it's like I think those are fine, but I do think there should be a line. Like if they start thinking, all right, let's bring a T Rex back, I'm like, I don't know
What's
about I
stopping?
would.
It's like what's stopping that train of thought? That's totally where they're going to go next. Is all right, T Rex time.
If you guys heard barking, I have a dog. So even though I'm running a podcast, it is what it is. If you guys didn't know, yeah, I have a dog here, and he can be
Well,
very
these
annoying.
Tasmanian tigers are pretty small.
Tasmanian tigers are not that big, at all. But yeah, it should be interesting. We'll see. We'll see. I mean, we're just gonna create bigger guns, so maybe we can take out T Rex if they get in trouble. All right. So the last bit of news is a school district in Texas has ran a new law. I don't know what the law is called exactly, but it revolves around removing and reviewing dozens of challenged books. And what I
Mhm.
mean by challenged books is when people get like upset about the book and want to challenge it to the board and try to get it removed. And a lot of them actually have been removed based on their current policy, such as the Bible and an Anne Frank illustration book. So very interesting. Obviously, I'm not religious, so I don't, I'm not going to come into the space from the perspective of someone who wants to keep religion. Oh yeah, we should keep religion. But I am going to come at this space in this direction that I don't think it's smart to kind of take away books, period, because that seems very counterproductive in terms of the aspect of freedom of speech, as they talked about in the article. That people should be able to learn whatever they want, and parents getting upset. Oh, I don't want them reading the Bible, even if it's in a public space. I don't think it's not a good idea at all. So, what do you think about that? Oh, by the way, it's in Texas. If I didn't say that, so what do you think about that, Quan?
Yeah, I actually seen this too, and I had basically no positive thoughts on it. I think removing books like 9 out of 10 times is a bad idea, regardless of, well, obviously if they're like extremely explicit, then I would definitely not have those in schools. But it just because they have quote unquote problematic thinking, or they're kind of controversial, or stuff like that, I don't think you should really take away books. I mean, it's funny because there's actually a lot of books that talk about what happens when you start to take away books, like Fahrenheit 451, for example. So I just think that it's kind of ironic when you think about it, that it was almost predicted by like the authors of the past that they're going to start taking away more and more books. I think it's a bad idea.
Yeah, and we've talked about well, I've talked about it, and I'm sure you've heard it constantly, that when it comes down to it, one of the biggest dangers in terms of society is when the government starts controlling the education to a more extreme level, and this is
Right.
definitely a step in the wrong direction in terms of that. Whether you're religious or not, even looking at an Anne Frank illustration book and saying that's problematic, take it out of the schools, like, come on. Like,
Yeah.
what are we doing here? And I'm not making this a religious versus a woke thing, but they also talked about it in the article of how there was books that were challenged that were more woke LGBTQ, and those got passed to stay in the school. So it's like, where's the line? Like, when it comes to, like Quan said, if it's explicit, yes, take it out. But if it's just ideologies that you disagree with, then, well, that's hands down not freedom of speech. So, yeah, I'm not with that at all. But hey, Texas, get your stuff together. You feel me, Texas? Uh, all right, so let's dive into our first segment now that we're done with the trending topics. Y'all know how this goes. OMU. Eventually, in the future, I'm gonna have like transitions that kind of call out the name of these things. It'll be super entertaining. But OMU, very simple, quick fire, 10 topics. Quan is gonna say overrated, underrated, just right. And after it's all done, after kind of instant responses, at the end of it, I'm gonna ask if you want to explain any, and you feel free to do what you gotta do. All right.
I'll try my best. I feel like half of these I probably won't even know what they are.
No, these are pretty easy. I just went on a random topic generator and grabbed the first eight and the
So
last
it's
two,
overrated or underrated, and
or just right.
or just
Overrated,
right.
underrated, just right.
Okay.
All right, first one. WWE.
Ooh. Right now it's probably just right. It used to be overrated, but it's probably just right now.
Even with Logan Paul.
Yeah. I still think it's just right. Yep.
Okay. Crypto.
Overrated. Overrated.
All right. Cheese.
Cheese? I think cheese is low key underrated still. Cheese low key underrated.
Being short.
Being short is underrated. There's a lot of pros here. There's a lot of pros.
Olympics.
Olympics are overrated for sure. They're so overrated.
The police.
Ooh. The Policia.
Well, be more specific. American police.
American police. That's a tough one, bro. There's like no right answer
And then that's just right, huh?
Okay, I guess for me personally, if I go for my personal answer, I think I'm gonna say underrated as a blanket topic because we're gonna talk about it
Okay. Napoleon Dynamite. No, Napoleon Bonaparte.
later. I would say Napoleon Dynamite definitely underrated, but Napoleon Bonaparte probably he's also underrated. It's also very very underrated, extremely actually.
IQ.
Ooh, just right. Believe it or not, I think it's just right. I think it's just right.
One Piece.
Just right. It's just right. It's right where it needs to be.
Last but not least, Black Clover.
It's underrated still. It's criminally underrated.
Okay, all right.
Underrated.
Any of these that you want to explain a little bit more?
Yes. Okay. What was the first one?
WWE.
That one I don't really need to explain because WWE used to be huge, like used to be super super huge back in the day, but then it fell off like super super hard, so it made it kind of underrated. Because I don't know if you played like the WWE.
Oh,
Or,
2007 SmackDown versus Raw was like my
yes,
favorite
yes.
game. I would play the GM mode religiously. Like I would create so many setups for these different events. One I was big on. For some reason, I always want the Miz to be the WWE champion, so I just kept on having him. And then Stone Cold Steve Austin, bro, I loved that game. It's one of my
It
favorite
was
games
so
of all
hype.
time.
Like back when we were kids, that game was hype. So it just fell off like super hard when it
Oh
went to
yeah.
2K. Like and like just it just had so like Logan Paul kind of being in there now kind of has brought some more hype back to it. So I think it's like just right or kind of underrated.
Okay, all right.
What was the other one? I think people do hype up cheese a lot, but I think cheese is so good that it's still underrated. You can't overrate cheese at all.
That's fair enough. I'm with you. I mean, just right. I think that's a good one. Anyone else?
The being short, I think people overvalue being tall. I think being tall is more of an inconvenience than being short is. I mean, sure, if you can't reach something, you might have to stand on something to reach it. But if you're too tall for something, you're going to be just uncomfortable trying to fit into whatever it is. Like, say you're trying to get into a car, but you're too tall. It's like, man, now I got to be scrunched up the whole time. Do you have trouble finding leg room? Being tall is kind of more of a hindrance. And being people who are tall, their knees get messed up faster. Being short's where it's at.
Yeah, the thing is, being short definitely has some value, but being tall is still way more valuable at the end of the day. And it's one of those things where it's, you get the better athletic jobs if you're taller. And obviously, you're more attractive to a female if you're taller. So.
I think that's just some odd, stereotype that's just been. I don't even know why it's a thing. I have no idea
It's
why.
biological, sir. I don't know what to tell you. They think they're stronger, better, and more amazing.
You shouldn't judge a book by its cover.
I agree. I agree. Anything else?
Oh, I feel like there's police. I think American police specifically. I want to say it's underrated in a lot of different terms in terms of like how good and bad it is at the same time. There's a lot of stuff that definitely needs to be changed that I think people aren't paying attention to. And I think a lot of people are like, I don't know, it feels like a lot of people are kind of on the bandwagon of being mad and not like really looking deep into like a lot of the issues and reforms that need to happen in the police system in general. So I think that's why it's a little underrated. And also, like, there are people who are trying. Like, you got to think, there's definitely a lot of bad cops out there. Obviously, I've had my run ins. You've probably had yours. Viewers probably had theirs. But there are still, good people in there that are trying. So, I mean, let's try not to demonize all of them, is what I always try to think about.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I actually have never had a bad run in with a cop, personally. But
Really?
yeah, I've never had. I've only been stopped by the police twice. Yeah, twice. First time was my friend was driving the car, and second time I was driving the car, but he just gave me a warning. So it is what it is. But
I want to say, yeah, I've been stopped like a few times, but only my most recent one, like a couple years ago, was a positive one. I remember the first time I ever got pulled over by the police. I was like 16, and I was with one of my friends who was 17, and we went to Taco Bell. It was like three of us. We all went to like Taco Bell.
whoa,
Yeah, like
I was just thinking driving, but now that you say that, in general, I've actually had some negative experiences where I got stopped for getting in trouble.
We were, yeah. He did drive us down there.
Oh, I was just talking about you just opened up another memory for me. Yeah.
And like when the police had pulled over just because it was late or whatever, so it was like three cops on like it was like two for the passenger and the driver's side, and then one in the back, and they all had like their flashlights, hands on their guns, and they're like, "Put your hands on the ceiling." Everybody, put your hands on the ceiling. So we got our hands on the ceiling, and they're reaching in our pockets to grab our wallets and stuff. It was crazy.
Man. I actually reciprocate with that because I lived in military housing and we had a curfew as well, and we would go outside very, very late, and we would run away and do bad stuff. So I actually reciprocate in that sense. But at the end of the day, I don't say, oh yeah, they're just out for us. It was just like we were past curfew doing stuff that we weren't supposed to at the end of the day. So it is what it is. Just to keep everybody in mind that is listening to podcasts, we are doing this live. I have a few people here. Quan, Rax is saying cancel Quan here. And Ko saying, "How's your day? Doing well, my guy. Doing well." Um, but yeah, overall, I would say police are generally underrated. They're definitely more criminalized now today in society, but that's a different discussion at the end of the day. So, a lot of anime opinions that you had that I thought are pretty understandable. One Piece, Black Clover, Haikyuu, and that leads into some of the topics that we're going to be talking about today in terms of like the the meat and potatoes of today's episode for the podcast in regards to anime culture, weeb culture that I thought would be very interesting to hear your perspective from it. So for the first thing is, what do you think about the current state of anime slash weeb culture in general on social media? Like, what do you think about it? If you like from outside looking in. And I want you to look at it in two perspectives. One being in the culture itself, because obviously you're a big anime fan and you do anime content, but also think about it from an outside perspective looking in as well.
I guess looking at it from the inside, like from being here from back when like liking anime and stuff was pretty taboo, it's almost kind of weird like to see how mainstream it is now. Like you got like Goku and Vegeta in Fortnite now. It's kind of, and like Naruto and all these people. So it's like back in the day, like it was so. And I know people say this all the like all the time, but it really was not cool. You would really get like bullied or shunned by everybody for like anime. So I guess how big it is to where you got like quote unquote normal people talking about Demon Slayer or talking about Dragon Ball or any of that kind of stuff. It's kind of just weird. Like I'm definitely happy about it because like something that I like and hold near and dear to me is other people are more so interested in it too, so we can kind of all share in the same like shared love and appreciation of I guess a whole art form or a whole style of media and all that. Oh, and then the other one, looking at it from the outside, I feel like from the outside, it's probably even weirder because if you were one of those people who was staunchly against it, I guess now it's like it's all around you now, or it's becoming all around you. To where like if you hate anime for whatever reason, it's like you if you hate it and you're still into entertainment media and stuff like that, then it's going to be more so harder to avoid. Like if you're a Call of Duty bro and you hated anime but you want to play Fortnite, guess what? Anime is going to be in your face, or there's anime references in your Call of Duty game. It's like it's one of the things that's getting harder to avoid now, and I think it's probably a really strange for those people.
Yeah, and I do think there's an essence of, from the outside perspective looking in, that the if you don't know anybody that likes anime and you're just looking at these people who like anime, probably the first thing that comes to mind is like the extremes of like cosplay, of
Furries.
furries, of people that are woke with colored hair. And they're definitely the most expressive. I don't even know if they're the majority in terms of anime fans, but definitely the most expressive. And one thing I will say that is helping in terms of like diversifying the kind of the outlook of anime fans, or like conventions like DreamCon, never been, but it's just that anime convention saying that, hey man, you could be black and like anime, and it could seem cool. You could just be just like us, just watch anime, enjoy anime, nothing crazy, just chilling, vibing with the bros. So I think stuff like that is very good at the end of the day. uh but sticking to like social media specifically, when I'm thinking of it, is it gets really, really, really toxic and
Oh
weird.
gosh, it's just a cesspool online. It's just a cesspool of just toxicity. For as far as the end, I have yet to find any community space that doesn't get toxic eventually. It does not just get absolutely toxic. And I'm guilty like of it too. I'm not going to sit here and act like I don't get toxic or anything, but I get the appeal, but sometimes some people go like way too far. They go way too far.
Yeah, and the weird thing for me when it comes to anime and comes to like specific topics, because I'm like I can get deep into like being in the sports community, basketball, football, video
Right,
games,
right.
political community, all that stuff. The weird thing about anime at times, especially when you go down to like the power scaling route or talking about feats, is because it's fictional. There can be no right answer, and at
Right.
that point it just becomes a cycle of back and forth that never gets any type of resolution, where at the very least for something like sports, right, you can argue LeBron, well, the big one, LeBron, Michael Jordan, but at the very least you can look at stats and all this stuff. But in terms of like anime, it is completely a subjective manner, because at the end of the day it's pure fiction. It's just they're there for an enjoyment at the end of the day.
I mean, to like as I always say, for people who don't know, I'm not a power scaler. I always say that, but I do feel like for certain things, there are like some objective realities in the fiction that can say otherwise. Like I think when it gets to the nitty gritty, okay, there might not be a correct answer, but when you go like, oh, let's take Shoyo Hinata from Haikyuu and put him up against Naruto, it's like, well, it is fiction, but there's literally in no universe does he beat Naruto. Like that actually makes sense.
Right. And I do say there is some common sense, but the problem at the end of the day with that still is like there will be that one person that will look at this consensus side where it's like, no, he's not winning. No, it's like this, not like that. It's a consensus for like 80 to 90% of the community. But you just got that 1%. He's like, nah, this, because this, because of that.
That
And
one outlier incident.
exactly. He's like, and
I
it's
mean,
really like, it's his perception of what happened, even though most people don't agree with it. Because it's fiction, you can't tell him is technically wrong. And that's why I related to like something like sports, where it's like, you can't discredit LeBron James about to score the most points of all time, Michael Jordan winning 6 rings in the finals without ever losing. Like, what are you? You're not out debating
I
that.
mean, but the thing is, even in sports, there are people who will still debate that. There are people who will say that Derek Fisher is one of the greatest point guards ever because of all of his rings. I mean,
Yeah.
you'll, you'll always get people who will say these kind of things. I mean, heck, even only 9 out of 10 of the dentists can agree on the new Colgate. I mean, it's like you always get that one guy. There's always that one guy in the group that has to be a contrarian. So I mean, I have no problem with telling people they're wrong. I think a lot of people get like, not saying you obviously, because I know that you're not like this, but I think some people online, when trying to convince this person that they're wrong, take it so personally. Like they take it as if like they're insulting their own intelligence by disagreeing with them, and then that's when it gets like, bro, chill out. It's just it's fiction. Like
Yeah,
it'll
and
be
that's
okay.
another layer of this. Because in terms of toxicity and negativity, that it is in every community, but the layer with the anime community, and when I touch upon it, why I'm touching upon it right now, obviously because he's part of the community, I'm part of the community because I'm a big anime fan as well, is the people who like anime that are a part of social media. A lot of them can tend to be using anime is kind of like a tool to escape a reality for a lot of people, because at the beginning, like you said, it wasn't the popular thing,
Right.
and it was so different. It was another culture. It wasn't like cartoons, and the story was so unique. The animation was so
Unlike
unique.
anything we'd ever seen. There was nothing like
Ex-
Powerpuff Girls or Superman or freaking Scooby Doo or Fred Flintstone. It was so different for what it was.
exactly. And people hold on to that so much, and now it's so popular now that people are holding on to it more and more in our current state of community. But a lot of these people who are holding on to it, because of social media and the increased value of social media, a lot of them, and I stand by this, a lot of them do not have the appropriate social skills, which could
Right.
lead into stuff like overwhelming toxicity on social media, being you lead into weird communities where they go way too far with their love for anime, and I think you know
The
what I mean by
shippers,
that.
the
uh
shippers, yeah. It's
it it gets very very toxic. And I actually, before I let you go, I saw a YouTuber. He was part of the basketball community, and he did a reaction of an anime con, and the title of his video was why anime fans are weird. It's like, and you see a girl stepping on two dudes, um, and they're like her stools. And I
yeah.
remember another clip where there was a clip of like at an anime convention where this dude was like showing his humping skills, I believe.
Oh, I know that.
You
Yeah,
know what clip I'm talking about?
he's wearing like a My Hero School uniform thingy when he was
Yeah,
on his
yeah,
VR thing. Yeah.
yeah. And I'm like, what are we like? What are we doing? And there are specific communities we can call out, and I'm gonna call you out right now. My Hero Academia fans, Chainsaw Man
So
fans,
you have to say Chainsaw Man. Those they have to be
and
said.
I'm gonna and not the same as like how their weirdness, but their toxicity. Attack on Titan fans, like there are communities where they go too far, and since they're inept at their
Like
social
Dragon Ball
skills,
fans, like
I
but
think
can he
most.
beat
I
Goat?
think actually, I think most Dragon Ball fans are okay. Actually, it's just when they get to
Bro,
power scaling, it's
okay,
just
the Power
annoying.
Skeleton because that one that's toxic, bro.
Yeah,
That
they're
one.
toxic, but I think I think like you said, it's such a casual anime. A lot of people casually like it, and it's fine. For example, so yeah,
Please tell me you seen the Chainsaw Man panel where like it was the animators or whatever, and they were showing panels of the anime, like or it was a panel and they were showing scenes of the anime, and when they showed what's her name, when they showed the red hair girl, I forget her name,
Makima.
yes, and then the whole crowd just started barking, like or the whole panel, the whole
Oh
crowd.
my god, bro! I think you were with me. Jay is with us too. That Chainsaw Man is so overrated, and now it has a cult fan base. And I stood by that it had a cult fan base, but now it's getting escalated now that it has an anime. Like it's wild the amount of people who are they're literally putting dog collars and walking crawling on four legs. Like, what are
It's a
we
lot.
doing? Like, what
It's
are
a
we?
lot. It's gone away. We've strayed far from the path at this point.
Yeah, and the anime community is kind of the poster boy, or not the poster boy, but the anime community is kind of like the symbol that a lot of people that are outside looking in are what people think liberals are. They think leftist people are, who think woke people are. They think they're anime fans at the end of the day. So
Mhm.
that's just another layer of how this anime community is evolving. And if you're diving into the anime community, just be aware that you can enjoy anime, but you don't have to put a dog collar on, get on four legs, and start barking for a character you like. We
That's
don't have
what a
to go
lot of
that
people
far.
like. That's what a lot of people like. I think a big reason is a lot of people, especially like even still to some degree today, definitely more so back when we were, or at least when I was a little bit younger, is since it was so taboo to be a fan of anime, or some people's like of an anime in their actual everyday to day personal life might be so intense to where they can't necessarily let it out the way they want to. So when they finally get around a bunch of like-minded individuals, it like all comes out, and they feel like they can be their truest self, which to most may seem a little bit off-putting at times. But it's like for us, I know for me and probably for you as well, that it's like we understand. Okay, you guys are weird. Who cares? It's not a super big deal. But to the outside looking in, it makes all of us look really, really weird. But most of these people aren't bad people. They just really, really like the show that they like.
Yeah, no, I agree to that. I mean, I'm just calling a spade, and there are so much other layers when it comes to the anime community that makes it very different from other communities.
Right.
Like, it's just so different, and you could have so many arguments on your point of view, but it's evolving, and its popularity and its association with identities, it is a very unique community for America specifically. Japan is chilling, that's like part of their culture. But for
Right.
America specifically, it's a very
It's
very
relatively
weird.
new when you think about it in terms of like a whole like culture device thing. Because I really wouldn't even say that it was really like a culture thing here till like the early 2000s, and then
Yeah.
for its mainstream popularity, I'd really say that's the later half of the 2010s. To be honest with you.
No, yeah, I 100% agree. There was something else I wanted to touch upon there, but what I'm gonna do instead is move on to our next question that I'm very curious to see your answer for. So, do you think because this leads into it perfectly actually because we're talking about culture. Do you think cultural representation is necessary in anime for America? Japan, you can't tell them what to do. That's their stuff in the first place. But for Americans in America,
So you mean so you're saying for animes that are made in America, do I think cultural representation is necessary?
um, no, okay, let's put it back on a general scale. Like, do you think when anime is made that there should be more cultural representation in it to appease Americans? I think that's the best
Oh,
way.
in terms of like multiple different races, multiple different
Yeah,
orientations, walks of life, and things like that. I mean, I guess in a very, very general sense, I think that like it makes it more fresh when you have lots of different types of stories and different types of people in stories. I mean, that part's kind of good, but that's just more from an enjoyment standpoint. In terms of is it absolutely 100% necessary? I don't really think it is. I mean, because at the end of the day, it's who's ever, the artist or creator making the story. They can kind of just do whatever they want. I mean, I guess in a short answer, no, I don't think it's super necessary. I think it might not be as enjoyable, but I don't think it's super necessary.
interesting. Um, I actually very much agree. Now, if it's getting creative, like if you want to create an anime in America, then you can obviously do whatever you want. You can make it as culturally representative as you
Yeah,
want at the end of the
yeah.
day. But telling the Japanese that they need to do this, this, and this to do something that they created seems it
Weird.
seems backward. It seems weird.
Yeah.
Like
Like I think if I'm say an American anime creator or a manga creator, I make a story and I want my story to be about a straight. I want it to be a Hawaiian anime, and I want to only use Hawaiians in it, nobody else. I don't think anybody should tell me I can or can't do that. In same way, if I wanted to make one that was all white people or all black people, or a whole anime that was all gay people, I feel like if I wanted to do that, nobody should tell me that I have to change what I'm making because I'm the one making it. Like you can't
exactly
force
because
people to change the story.
at the end of the day, it's the creators own like a vision on how they want their story to go,
Right.
and it's so backwards for some random fan to tell this creator that they need to do certain things to appease some type of agenda. And you can even go even further in terms of like people trying to tell certain mangaka or certain anime creators that they need to do certain things with their story. Now, you can critique things in terms of like story and how the
Right.
writing is.
Writing, you're right. In
Yeah,
different plot choices. Right, right. Yeah, totally. Anything is open to a critique. But I mean, once people start making demands and death threats and oh, you didn't do this, so now I'm gonna hate you and burn everything. It's like, bro, like what are you talking about?
yeah, exactly. What are we doing here? Um, all right. Last question for this general topics here. So for you personally, Quan, imagine you have a kid, right? You have
Right.
a kid. They're they're like between the ages of obviously a baby and a 4 years old. Let's say they're 4 years old. They're old enough to understand television, right? 4 years
Okay.
old. Would you show slash moderate the anime that your kid watch, or would you just let them watch anime freely?
I would absolutely moderate what they watch, anime or not, for sure.
How far? Well, how far would you allow them to see One Piece?
mm,
Yeah,
or
because think about what One Piece does and how it is,
I'd
and
probably say no. Like early One Piece isn't so bad, but it gets progressively. Like I'm not saying One Piece is like some super, rated R show, but I think it does get progressively more adult themed, or just has more adult themes introduced like later on in the story. I mean, maybe 4 might be a bit young, honestly. So yeah, I probably like pay attention to them, like and watch them all and watching it.
Okay. Rex is hate, bro. I've never seen Rex say this. He said, "Not letting my kid read that mid piece." That
Yeah,
is wild.
honestly, I kind of like anything above like Pokemon might be a bit much for like 4 years old. I think.
But
I
what?
think.
I don't know many animes like Pokemon, and Pokemon is more of like an Americanized anime. At the end of the
Yeah.
day,
I mean, or you could take it like what's it call it, Pokemon, or like maybe the English dubbing of like say Yu-Gi-Oh. That those
again,
are.
very Americanized. So you wouldn't let them watch straight
Well, I mean, they wouldn't be able to watch
Japanese.
subs at 4 years old. If I have a kid watching
True,
subs at four,
true.
they're pretty darn smart.
But I'm talking about Yu-Gi-Oh. Like Yu-Gi-Oh, Pokemon are very Americanized. Like they're on 4Ks. Anything on 4Ks is very Americanized.
Right? Yeah. Yeah. True. 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 True.
So my thing is like I don't know many animes at the end of the day that's like for kids. You know what I'm saying? I can't really think of anything on the top of my head.
That's 4 kids. I mean, like Zatch Bell, you could pass that as like 4 kids. Like Sailor Moon or Card Captor Sakura is
Sailor Moon
kind of.
is not. No, I don't think Sailor Moon.
I'm talking about just the anime that we got in America that was on Toonami before.
I
Like a
wouldn't
lot of
show
people.
my kid Sailor Moon.
I don't think it. I don't think that. Well, maybe. Oh, I haven't seen it since I was a kid. So
Me
I
neither, but I have
maybe.
a feeling that I shouldn't show my
Said
kid
I have a
Sailor
feeling
Moon.
that I have a feeling.
I have a feeling somewhere deep in my soul that I should let my 4-year-old watch Sailor Moon.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I think in some of the shows like that, like Zatch Bell or Card Capture Sakura, or there's probably some other ones I'm not thinking of off the top of my head that like aren't necessarily so much like too much. Like I even think Naruto, while it's a little on
Hmm.
the violent side, it's a little on the violent side, but I don't think outside that it's too terribly bad.
Interesting. Okay. Very interesting. All right. We're gonna move on to our P, C, or C segment where I'm gonna ask a question that's potentially cancelable, politically correct, or canceled, and you can answer however you want, Quan. Um. So there's a multiple layers for this question, right? First
Mm-hmm.
thing, are you okay with people who draw anime characters, Japanese anime characters, as black?
Like, yeah,
Are
I
you
mean,
okay with it? Just
yeah, I don't see any problem with it. Yeah, that's
okay.
fine.
Next layer. Would you be okay with people drawing black anime characters that are meant to be black, Asian?
Black anime, so characters that are meant to be black, but they're actually Asian.
No, anime characters that are meant to be black. For example, that one girl in Hunter x Hunter, that new Killua. So like she's
Oh yeah,
black,
yeah,
100%.
yeah,
So
yeah.
would you mind? Would you
Canary.
care if someone else were to draw that character, Asian, Hispanic, or white?
Would I care? I mean, as long as they're not like getting weird about it, like, oh, I fixed her, like that kind of thing. If they just wanted, like, say there's like some Asian person, like, oh, I love this character, I wanted to do them in this style because I always want to see what they look like, or it'd be cool to see them like that. Or if some white person's like, oh, this was my favorite character in Hunter x Hunter for whatever reason, and I really wanted to make them look this way, like just from a pure like I just from a pure enjoyment standpoint, not anything like malicious or trying to be sent like fake racist or something, then yeah, I don't see any problem with it.
Okay, so what if someone does what you just said, but does it for an Asian character, turning them black?
Makes turns the Asian character black. So like, oh, you talking about them things where they have like Goku and Vegeta like super hood and all of that?
Yeah. What if
I mean,
they were going like, "Oh, I fixed them," stuff like that?
see, saying you fixed a character, I feel like is just disrespectful to the artist and disrespectful to what its initial integrity was. I mean, I'm not like a super big like I don't want to discredit myself in saying this because I did gain a lot of respect for like artists and creators when I went to art school. Like I went to the Art Institute of Pittsburgh, so I gained a lot of respect for the people that create things. And it's like I feel like changing someone's character and then saying you fixed it or implying that their version was inferior to yours, I feel like it's just not right. No matter what you're turning it into, if you're turning black, white, a dog, a clown, I feel like it's just messed up. And I
Yeah.
think people on the internet need to not do do that.
I very much agree to that, and the reason why I bring it up is obviously I see a lot of artists, draw their characters different ways. But I remember a little bit back then where, obviously I see a lot of artists change anime characters to a black version of them. Um, but I remember not, uh, maybe a little bit. I don't know, maybe last year, maybe 2 years ago. I remember there was a situation where there was a character person drawing characters black, and then there's another person drawing these characters blonde with blue eyes and making them white, and there's some weird controversy with it. People mad at the person because they turned that black character that this person made into a white character with blonde hair and blue eyes. So now that's the final layer to this question. If someone draws a character black and then someone else draws that same character and turns them white, what would you think about that?
I think if it was done like with a malicious intent, like, oh, this artist was known for making characters in black in their style, and then you get this other artist who is like, well, to get back at them, I'm going to take their OC and make it white. I think that is wrong because it's not
But
from that.
from a completely in a perspective where you don't know anything about this person.
Okay, yeah, if you just seen the character and it's like, oh, I want to draw this character in my style and make it look more like me or make it more like something that I think would look cool, then I don't see an issue with that. I really don't. Like, if you are doing it strictly because I thought your character looked dope and now I want to add on or try to customize it to fit how I think it would look cool for me, then I don't see anything wrong with that. But when it gets malicious is when I have a problem with it.
Yeah, I agree. When it comes down to it, all fair and love and war when it comes to this art stuff. You do things because you enjoy it at the end of the day and represent the style that you appreciate the most. And when it brings about some type of toxicity or malicious intent, I agree, can head into a direction that I personally am not okay with. So I very much agree to that aspect that you're referring to. So I think that was interesting. I just found that whole conversation very, very interesting, considering I see so many people do. I see a lot of people draw characters as black, and I don't see a lot of characters draw them as like white anymore. And I wonder if it's a worriness that they're gonna get canceled by the anime community for doing said thing.
I think there's not a lot of characters that you can really change to, because I mean, a lot of anime characters, granted, we know that they're Asian, but a lot of times their portrayal is to be white. So I don't think there's a lot of.
Well,
like, take Naruto,
you can make them blonde with blue eyes, other than Naruto, because he's like the only blonde hair, blue eye.
Or even like take Ichigo. Like, I mean, it's one of the ones where it's like he looks more white than he does Asian to me. I don't know too many Asians with naturally orange hair.
But on general, you could definitely do it where you can make him seem more white in terms of the typical fashion, if you really wanted to.
There's like more applicable situations to make a character look black or like Hispanic or something than I think there is to make them look like white. I mean, it's like I said, I don't really have a big issue with it. I really don't. With people changing the way people's characters look.
Yeah. I find, at the end of the day, I find good art good. I don't really care how you do it, but just don't be overly toxic if people are doing the same thing virtually. But like I said, malicious, like Quan said, if there's malicious intent behind it, that's where we got to put a pin in it. All right, so we're moving on to our final segment here today. This is called Contra segment. It's a this or that type of situation. Quan, you just pick which one you prefer. If you want to explain, by all means, go ahead. Are you ready?
Okay. Ready as I'm gonna be.
All right. Early 2000s animes or post 2010s anime?
Oh, early 2000s for sure. For sure. It just had a different feel to it. Like, it was people could say, "Oh, it's nostalgia because I'm old or something," but it just it had a different feel. You had to be there.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. Seven Deadly Sins or Black Clover? If one had to disappear forever.
If one had to disappear forever, I'd say Black Clover for real, for real. I'm still not sold on what Tabata is doing right now. Seven Deadly Sins, at the very least, is a completed story, so I know everything that I'm getting. With Black Clover, it's like, there's some stuff in that last arc that I really didn't like. I mean, we're getting stuff now, but I just got to see where it goes. So in this exact moment in time, I prefer Seven Deadly Sins.
Okay, interesting. It's very, very interesting. Very interesting. Uh, Rex said the slower paced older shonens have better payoffs during the peaks of the arcs.
Facts. That's big facts because you got build up like you got so much build up to these big moments, whereas now it's like you got two or three episodes and they're already at a really big moment and then they're back doing something else. They're just too fast, I guess, which is
Well,
good for
yeah,
short attention spans. But
which
I
is
like
our current generation due to technology. A lot of them don't want to
right.
wait a very long time for something to kind of develop nowadays. Um, So yeah, 100%. That's why stuff like Attack on Titan is such a surprise that it waited for its final moment for its big reveal, and it was fine. Even especially with all the hiatuses, you know how many hiatuses the anime had, and it currently have another hiatus technically
Yeah,
leading into the
taking
final
breaks
season.
or literally like two breaks in the middle of the final arc is kind of wild.
Facts. All right, next one. Would you rather give up completely, like give up completely, video games, anime, or sex?
Give up completely. I'd probably give up anime over the other two, realistically. Because the games, like, I love playing games. Like, I mean, if I really care, I can just read a manga. Like, if I, like, granted, I feel like it takes, it's not as hype, I guess, in some moments, but it will just have to do. I need a good game every now and
No,
again.
I
Like,
can't. I can't let you have that. I can't give you a way out. Manga and anime is gone.
so then I guess in that point, I might have to get rid of games. I can always watch a walkthrough and live vicariously through them, or watch Twitch.
I'll give you that one. I'll give you that one.
Unless you're taking a YouTube video game
No,
walkthroughs, I can't
I'll give you
watch.
that one. You're not actually
If I
playing the game, so it's like
if I can't watch esports, then I don't even know what I pick at that point.
fair enough. Fair enough.
But I guess I'd have to get rid of games at the end of the
Video
episode.
games. Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right. Last two. Now I asked this to everybody. I'm curious at the very least. If you don't want to answer, by all means, are you? Do you prefer Democrat slash liberal, conservative slash Republican, or moderate? Now I answer for myself, just so you feel comfortable. I'm moderate for sure.
So, okay, this is gonna show how stupid I am. So Democrats are the blue ones that are the
Blue
liberals, right?
ones, Democrat,
And,
liberals,
and the Republicans are
Republicans,
the
red
red ones,
ones, conservatives.
conservative.
Yeah.
And then the moderates are.
And then I'm in the middle for the most part. I find good logic from both sides.
That's probably where I'd fall too, to be honest with you. I don't really like a lot of the extremes on both sides. Like, obviously, there's good and bad people on both. I don't think that like every Democrat is a complete moron. Just like I don't think every Republican is like a racist or like this horrible person. Like there's good and bad. It's like the extremes are way too much for me. But so I think like there needs to be a good middle ground.
All right, respect. I agree. I very much agree. Last one. Would you rather condemn someone you hate or forgive someone you hate?
Or I'd rather forgive somebody I hate. I don't want to push somebody down farther than they already have to be. I try to make it a point to not hate anybody, or like even if I say I do, it's like in a joking manner. Because I don't like. I feel like you should really try to be a positive impact on people's lives and try your hardest to forgive your enemies and that kind of stuff. So I'd rather forgive them and just water under the bridge. We just might not be cool for whatever, but we just squash it and go on.
All right. Yeah, I again very much agree. And that's a big purpose behind this podcast here is to, at the very least, trying to spread some type of, I'm not going to pretend like I'm a good guy or anything, but at the very least,
Right.
just trying to spread some type of understanding, some type of compassion, because you could disagree with someone vehemently, but you don't have to be extremely toxic, extremely negative, and extremely hateful. And that's one of the bad things about our current society. So, discussions like these are very much needed today more so than ever, in my personal opinion. So
There's too many people that are at each other's throats over the silliest things.
facts, 100%. All right, so I think that is all we got for today's podcast. Appreciate you here, Quan. Do you have any final things you want to say? Any final plugs? Anything like that?
Basically gave my plugs. I don't have anything super crazy. I do appreciate you for having me. This went like really smooth. I will say this though, RT did ask me to prepare a random fact.
Oh,
Like
I forgot to ask about that.
He asked me to prepare a random fact, and I panicked or some good news. So I went and prepared some good news, or he told me to do it. And the good news is that Evo was recently. It's a big fighting game tournament, and it was hype. Dragon Ball Fighters is getting rollback netcode. Those who know, they know. Street Fighter 6 around the corner. That type. That was my good news that I had.
All right, respect. Completely forgot about that, so I appreciate you remembering. All right, so hope you guys enjoyed today's podcast. Of course, if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, rate it 5 stars, leave a review that I can read on the next episode, or rate it 5 stars on Spotify as well. Appreciate you all, of course. And make sure you guys visit the website where you can see all the content that I post, www.thetrendwithrtlfaith.com. So y'all have a good one.